All right then. Let's go ahead and take a look at the character gameplay category. That one's interesting me.
Okay.
Specifically the Artificer. Let me go ahead and post this out into the chat here. But yeah, there was a discussion, or not really a discussion, it was really just a post. Nobody's really replied just yet. I was going to reply today, but then the thing happened where we had to stream. But either way, Fen on the forums, Fen1539, proposed an idea. Another idea of a skill line. Not really an extra class or anything, but more like a crafting skill. That would be somewhat of a, I guess you could say, a tier 2 crafting skill. Like once you get master is what they say, or even maybe grandmaster, who knows. With metalworking, master enchanter, and then master weaponsmith or armorsmith, you could get an artificer. They're calling it class, but I think it's more of a crafting skill that you could pick up that would end up making it so that you could make weapons and armor that are more infused with magic, and give you,
Gotcha.
as the artificer, a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a boost, similar to, if anybody knows, the artificer class in D&D, something along those lines, where you replace literally all of your armor with that armor, that one piece, that one set, so you can't mix and match anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it does have its benefits. What do you think about that there, Dygz?
I don't really understand what it means, and I don't understand why a person would try to do it. So you would have one complete armor set, right?
Yeah.
And then, so with Ashes of Creation, you're gonna be mixing types like physical versus magic. So you might have an all physical, you might have an all magic. How would you do that with the one specific set of armor? And I mean, I don't understand why it matters. I guess that's part of it too.
Well, I know in D&D, the artificer thing is when they get to a certain point, their armor all becomes basically one unit, but they get extra powers. Like they get almost like a flare type attack that they can shoot out of their hand, almost like an Iron Man type of thing, right?
But I'm saying, just to start with, more importantly, you're going to be using in Ashes of Creation specifically, which is different than D&D. You have physical armor that's going to help you in melee, and you have magical armor that's going to help you with magic. And then some people are going to want to mix and match those so that they have some physical and some magic resistance and magical damage, physical damage, all of that. And I don't understand how you do that if you're trying to do all one set. So it seems kind of antithetical to what people would be shooting for in Ashes Creation specifically. That's why I'm a little bit confused.
Gotcha. Well, at least with crafting, Steven's already said you'll be able to kind of mix and match stats to a degree, and there are going to be ways to actually change the stats on armor. So you could get metal armor, like a plate armor that is more magic resistance, and you could get a cloth armor that is more physical resistance. But it may or may not be easy. They haven't released how or exactly how that's going to function.
But again, in Ashes of Creation, it's not really cloth versus plate. It's physical versus magical. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, let me re-explain then. There's going to be a magical resistance armor that you can change to be physical resistance armor. So you can literally, as a crafter, you can manipulate the stats on the gear. So if you could manipulate anything in any way, I would assume if there's an artificer thing added, like a super grandmaster top tier thing, I would assume that that would include something like that, where you could take all of the stats from, say, 5 pieces of armor that make up your entire set combined into one, you'd still get all the stats. You just wouldn't be able to change, for say, some awesome boots that you find in a raid.
I'm not sure why I would care. I mean, um, because, well, for one thing, I'm often going for uh, the same set, and especially when you have transmogs. Like, I don't understand the appeal for that in an MMORPG like Ashes of Creation. I don't understand why it's so different from what we're able to do in any case. So, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but I don't understand why anybody would go for it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And TV, what do you think about the idea?
I honestly don't have as much of an opinion on it either. I just I tend to go for alchemy and cooking. And as it is, my usual way of playing is going to be different with Ashes already. I love the way that they're talking about being able to, as an armor smith, being able to adjust, the stats and stuff as you make the items. I like that because then maybe you can make something have a little bit more mana efficiency to it, whereas normally it may not have that if you didn't add that in. Things like that. I like that capability. I just don't know how to feel specifically about the Artisan idea. I think you had a lot of fun with Artisan, or Artificer, I mean, with D&D with us, but I've never personally been super into the idea of Artificer, but there are some really nifty ideas there that's built in my mind. But I do like the idea of armor sets in general. I think having a matching set which increases your bonuses is really interesting. And if that's kind of what they're going after with the Artificer thing, where you're kind of making your own gear set, I think that could be interesting as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the camp I'm in with it. Is I kind of like the idea of it, for one, because it'll give you something that you can work towards, for one, creating, for two, kind of tuning as you wish as you go along. Because it's something that you created, so in theory you would still retain the ability to go back and edit everything. Now the cost of editing, that'd be a whole different story. Like, what would that be? Should it be more expensive to retune your gear, if you've spent so much time and effort into becoming the super grandmaster crafter and a couple different other skills, right? But the other reason it kind of excites me and I like the idea of it is I think that could end up being a core component that's added in, say, a future, I'm stressing that word, future, feature set in Ashes, where there could be some like pinnacle crafting skills that can only be achieved if you've reached Grandmaster in like 2 or even 3 other like specific skills, put it that way. Like Artificer, you can only do it if you've mastered enchanting and armor crafting. And then, there could be another one that's like, I don't know, carpenter and enchanting. You could end up being, elven woodworker or something. Who knows what other things it could be. There could be, but different little combinations. But I think that would be something interesting to add to it and give people a reason to choose very specific crafting skills to Grandmaster, because they can now go and choose anything not even in the exact same tier, right? So they could even go with a specific processing and a specific crafting thing.
Gotcha.
Right. I think in D&D, Artificer would probably be a class and not a profession. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it would be more appealing to me if it were an archetype, and not only was it giving you a primary archetype, but also giving you the augment schools, and you're actually getting active skills from it. I think in D&D it would be easier for me to role play the Artificer class, and more difficult for me to kind of play an Artificer profession in an MMORPG, and again, especially specifically one that's designed the way Ashes of Creation is designed. So it would be more interesting to me if it was a primary archetype and also had augment schools assigned with it, so that you're getting active skills plus your augments on top of it.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. So I guess let's take a look at this leveling speed topic here.
Okay.
All right, let's go over here. Oh, you're okay. You're pacing that out. Cool. So on the forums yet again, Flanker, we had just mentioned him last week as a new content creator out there, but puts out the thought of, on release, the developers anticipate max level could be attainable in approximately 45 days of playing 4 to 6 hours per day. Is equal to about 225 hours to reach level 50. What is your opinion about it? Would you like it to be faster or slower? And how do you feel about that leveling speed, Dygz?
I don't really care necessarily about leveling speed or how long it takes me, and especially not in terms of days, I guess. I'm more concerned about hitting an end game where there's nothing left to do after you reach max level. Specifically, there's no quests, the story ends, and all that's left to do is just repeatable raids and dungeons. That's why I became interested in EverQuest Next. That's why I like the kind of node-ish type system where you have your cities that you're building and protecting, and I think that will keep you invested regardless of what level you are, because if you've actually taken some time to build the city instead of the city being there when you log in, you're going to be more invested in making sure that that city weathers whatever storms may come, whether it's mobs coming to attack, or earthquakes, or tornadoes, or magical storms, or other players. I think you're going to be more invested in dropping whatever you're doing to go protect your city when your city is in danger, since you spent some sweat and tears building it. I think hopefully with Ashes of Creation, reaching max adventure level is not really going to be the primary motivation for playing the game. The primary motivation should be, again, protecting your city, making sure that it's churning out the content that you want, and supporting other nodes that are providing the content that your character is interested in. So, in many relatively recent MMORPGs, people rushing to max level has been a thing, max adventure level specifically. But I think in Ashes of Creation, the stage of your node and the health of your node is going to be much more important than what level your adventure is at.
Chibi, how about you?
I would agree with that. The thing I was going to say is I don't think it matters how long you personally level. I mean, at the end of the day, this is planning 4 to 6 hours per day. The typical adult who has a family and kid to take care of and a 9-to-5 job, they're about like an 8-hour job you have to be at, full-time job, will probably have 4 to 6 hours per day available to them. Unlike when I was in high school or college and I could just come home and play video games all night and not worry about anything, or the weekends, you know. So I think that, you know, that amount of time, 45 days to get to max level, I mean, that's a little over a month. And that's the constant, like, every single day, basically, of 4 to 6 hours. And the reality is sometimes you're not going to have 4 to 6 hours every single day. Everybody won't. So I think if we force it to be slower, then, you know, I feel like, I don't know. The point that I'm trying to get at is we already have all these risks, and it's going to naturally get slowed down by dying. You're going to get XP debt. You're going to have to, my mind, this is saying 4 to 6 hours per day for 45 days without any XP debt. That's what my mind is saying when I read this. So if you factor in XP debt and the constant dying to boss mechanics or other players, or drinking poison when you didn't realize you're drinking poison, or flowers, I think that will greatly slow it down naturally, because then you're gonna have to push that percentage back, and you know, it's just, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, is my general opinion. Especially
I also
if
don't know what metric they're using. What metric are they using to determine that? Because, like you said, you have the XP debt, but we also have, well, first thing I was going to say is just the progression of the nodes, because I don't think there's going to be much content for level 50 characters before there's a metro there that's providing level 50 content. And then we also have land management. So you could run out of resources as well. It's not like everything is just there all the time, and you can just, anytime you want, go and get the stuff that you want. So I don't think it's going to be just this straight ramp up like it is in most MMORPGs, where all the content is just there waiting for you to reach the level that you want. That's not going to be the case in Ashes of Creation. So
yeah. And real quick, to Sir Onsington's point, Sir Onsington says, I would love to see a quest that kills you if you don't read the text and execute it properly. That's exactly what happened during Alpha 1. That's why I brought up the flowers.
Yeah, we should probably find somebody with who would fallen prey to the poison, as well as maybe the flowers, and see what they think about that. You wouldn't know anybody like that, would you, Chibi?
No, not at all.
So, real quick, just to catch up a little bit on chat, a little bit more on chat, I should say. So, Romariel, aka Hydro, says, as long as the leveling experience is meaningful, it can be as slow as necessary. Giving different level tiers identity would help with low or slow leveling as well. Grobe says, experience debt is 3%, which after a small amount of math is somewhere between 5 minutes and 4 hours. Romariel is saying, did Chibi just let slip her plan to recreate the infamous OSRS Tavern poison murders? I'm not sure what those are. Please do fill me in, but probably something like that. She is a devious one. But yeah, my opinion on it is kind of complicated, to be honest, because as my own person, I am very mixed in outlook on that. At first, I always thought that, you know, I like to play alts because I like to have, you know, different flavor. Today, I feel like playing this kind of character. That when I feel like playing that kind of character, so I'd like it to not take forever. And then I kind of got talked into the, well, yeah, but, you know, enjoy the journey, because they could make cool content for all levels going all the way up. And you should enjoy the journey and not really the end level destination. But at the same time, I then started thinking, like, I'm really wishy-washy on this one myself, because at the same time I'm trying to think of literally appealing to as many people as possible, and let's face it, casual players are somewhat the majority of players that keep games alive and populated. Each individual one may not be on very often, but there are a lot of people who pop on for, you know, a day here for a couple hours, a day there for a couple hours, and they kind of just make the player driven NPCs, you may as well call them, in the world, that you see them once and then you may never see them again.
Right.
But those types of people that play casually, 225 hours to be able to see the entirety of the game, they may never see level 50 ever.
You cannot see the entirety of the game in Ashes of Creation. It's not that kind of game. Again, it's not static, it's dynamic. So content changes as the nodes rise and fall. So you're never going to see the entire game, because it even changes based on which race is controlling a node. So
well, I guess to
Right,
rephrase, every tier of content. They won't be able to see every tier of content.
why not?
What do you mean? What do
You'll
you mean?
get
Why
there
not?
eventually. If you keep playing, then you get there eventually.
Yeah.
Why do you need to rush?
And then I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of wishy-washy on this, because it just feels like it would be really, really hard for casual players to get up there, maybe even to retain their interest, unless it's super interesting content the entire way up. Which kind of hoping it is, but we don't know.
Why would there be a lack of interest at any point? Like, the world is changing. There's stuff to do.
I mean, you've played a sandbox game before, right? You know how some of them can be very, very empty and like void of actual, or even maybe not void, but very light on actual engagement of content until you get all the way up to the top, and then you can play with the big toys. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
But Ashes is not a sandbox.
They're touting it as a sandbox.
No, they aren't. That's right.
Or sorry,
it's a theme box. It's actually, that's right. It's a theme box.
But that's only because 20% of the content is theme park.
No. It's because narrative is dev created narrative is a fundamental part of the design, specifically to stop it from having that sandbox dilemma of nothing to do. So it's and I'd say it's more it's a theme box rather than a sand park, is what I understand. It's a lot of
I was just going for a combination. I didn't know there was like emphasis.
Yeah.
Yep. So you should not have that sandbox problem of nothing to do with Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed for it, for sure. Time will tell.